question that was asked to me was simply, can you please talk about Ascension symptoms? So those of you who have been watching me for a while will know that I can never do a video at surface level, so this should come as no surprise to you when I say there are no such things as Ascension symptoms, because as you are already the universe, what are you ascending to? Therefore, I'd like to call these ego degradation symptoms. Utilizing a metaphor for this, we can say that the glass is half empty, which is spiritually asleep, or we can say that the glass is half full, which would be spiritually ascending. I like to say that we are the glass, the water, the emptiness, and the fullness all simultaneously, and the ascension symptoms you're feeling are just a recognition of this fact. Ego degradation, or ascension, comes about when one thing is happening. The ego is breaking down and the curtain of perception and illusion is being pulled back. Therefore, it is common for these signs to occur when one is going through or has just gone through immense emotional stress, when one is actively seeking higher vibrations, or when one has met and interacted with a soul family member. Planetary transits can also thrust you into ego degradation. The duration of these symptoms is different for everyone and dependent on what has pushed them into spiritual awakening. But generally, they can last anywhere from a week to years, also dependent on how much the individual needs to break down their ego. These ego degradation symptoms are in no particular order, but these are the ones that are most common yet spoken about the least. Number 1, blurry vision, eye pain, or eye tics. One of the most common and first ascension symptoms to show up are eye issues. It's incredibly annoying and makes living on the 3D plane of existence difficult because you went from seeing just fine to your surroundings being like a Monet painting. This may show up as pain in the eyes, eye tics or twitches, flashes of being somewhere else that your physical body is not, seeing things through someone else's eyes, peripheral auras, or absolute blurriness in your vision. Your body is trying to readjust itself to physically seeing energy in its pure form, as opposed to the brain's perceived notion of it. Number 2, sensitivity to sound. This sensitivity to sound isn't like, oh man, I'm at a concert and I forgot my earplugs. It's more like, why the fuck is the world so noisy? Everything, and I mean everything, gets heightened and overwhelming auditorily. You may find yourself not being able to listen to music or watch TV. Sirens or alarms are the most piercing sounds you can imagine. People talking at a normal volume sound like they're yelling in your ear. Beeps from your phone, messenger apps, alarm clocks, and timers make you want to put a pillow over your head. The clacking noise from high heels, computer keys clicking, placing things down on a hard surface, and even water running are painful to hear. All you want and long for is silence, and even silence can sometimes be deafening when you are in this space. Number 3, you don't understand words anymore. On the same note as sensitivity to sound, you could go through a period where words do not make sense to you anymore. If you've ever been acutely aware of how Mercury retrograde affects one's ability to communicate and understand, the inability to understand words is sort of similar. If you have spoken to multiple people and legitimately do not understand what they're talking about, or you can't grasp what they're saying, or you keep asking, what? You have probably encountered the symptom. It also works the other way around, where you cannot explain anything that you're feeling, that you're thinking, or that you're doing, and cannot have basic surface conversations with people because the words literally will not come out. This can also show up as not understanding anything you read, being checked out of everything that you read, and ultimately abstaining from both conversations and reading because you know that they're currently fruitless. You may also see this if you divine, so like tarot, and although you feel and know what is being shown to you, you can't verbalize it. Number 4, loss of memory. Going alongside not understanding words anymore, a loss of memory is quite common when the ego is degrading. The world is no longer being understood by 3D plane and egoic constructs of I, you, he, she, they, but rather being experienced purely through energy. You won't be able to remember things people tell you about themselves regarding surface level issues. You won't be able to remember where you put your things or what you were talking about a minute ago. This is because you are experiencing everything as I am, as pure energy, and you're remembering and deeply understanding that all of this shit that you're doing day to day is not real. Everything is the same, and you're floating in the energetic ocean, letting it take you where it may. Number 5, absolute exhaustion coupled with the inability to sleep. I don't usually like to talk about this one much because exhaustion can be due to many factors such as stress, moon cycles, hormonal cycles, adrenal fatigue, anxiety, worry, depression, poor food choices, lack of exercise or too much exercise, etc. The chances of it being an Ascension symptom is rare, but I'll talk about it anyway. The body may feel absolutely exhausted. However, when you try to sleep, you find that the body is restless and unable to get comfortable, or that the dreams are so intense that they consistently wake you up throughout the night. Another manifestation, on the flip side, is consistent lethargy and the ability to sleep multiple times during the day, plus throughout the night. So if this came out of nowhere and you've been checked by a doctor to make sure that there's nothing else going on, and you can't think of a reason why you'd be this tired, then maybe it is an Ascension symptom, but probably not. Number 6, increased Clair senses. This can come in the form of dreams, premonitions, knowing things before they happen, hearing things, seeing things out of the corner of your eye that aren't there, seeing smoky figures, seeing orbs, connecting with people you haven't seen in a while in your dreams, seeing spirit, feeling other people's emotions who aren't around you, knowing when the phone is going to ring and knowing who it is before you even look at your phone, accurately predicting outcomes of things as soon as you hear about them, randomly smelling the perfume of someone who has changed manifestations, chills all over your body consistently, or the hairs on your body sticking up all at once, multiple times a day. This is actually a form of clairsentience. Knowing what people are going to say before they respond, hearing songs or pieces of songs in your head that have an important message, seeing auras, feeling overwhelmed by the energy of others, receiving downloads, channeling, the ability to more accurately divine or divine in a new way that you haven't studied, like scrying or automatic writing. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Number 7, stomach irritation. So this symptom is seen frequently when you get into or out of a relationship with a soul family member, mostly a karmic, soulmate, or twin flame. Because the soul family member is helping to raise your vibrations, it actually manifests as gastrointestinal issues such as bloating and the inability to eat foods that you once did. This may show up as a lactose intolerance out of nowhere, or a new allergy to foods, or differences in bowel movements. It can appear as consistent bloating for no reason, hormonal menstrual changes, and unexplained weight gain or loss. The gut is the second brain, and it's also in charge of clairsentience. So the difference in new frequencies versus old can throw the solar plexus chakra off and cause physical issues. However, if these symptoms persist, please see a doctor to rule out other causes. Number 8, dissociation. Do you ever feel like you're walking around drunk or like you're consistently underwater and can't see clearly? This feeling is dissociation, and it's actually a normal trauma response so that your brain doesn't have to deal with its perceived reality. However, if you're having a feeling of dissociation without extreme amounts of stress or emotions tied to it, this could be a sign of ego degradation. When we experience dissociation, it's like we're not living in the real world. But this real world is just the 3D plane perceived by our egos. So the sensation of not being part of it can actually be a recognition of your energy as everything else and the dissolution of physical matter. Number 9, feeling lost. You may be going about your life, hanging out with your friends, working your job, and then bam, all of a sudden feel like you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. Your job doesn't make sense anymore. You don't know what you want to do. You don't know how to get to this imaginary place where things will be better. And you just feel lost. There can also be a feeling of hopelessness in this stage. It can be overwhelming, scary, and irritating, but that is the ego trying to pull you back down and make you care about things that don't actually matter. It is during this ego degradation symptom that people can become depressed, anxious, and overly emotional, so please just be aware of that. Number 10, the desire to be left alone. I talked about this symptom in my video, Signs of a Twin Flame Connection During Separation. The desire to be left alone is not because you're stressed or just need to decompress, but it's a deep, unencumbered, and true desire to be left alone. Talking to people is exhausting. The mere thought of talking to people is exhausting. Being around anyone is exhausting. Texting is exhausting. Looking at social media is exhausting. Anything that has to do with anyone else and their egoic constructs is an absolute nightmare to you. And instead, you just want inner peace via meditation, creation, reading, journaling, listening to music, walking in nature, doing yoga. Anything that keeps you away from other people's drama but makes you feel like you're still growing. Number 11, feeling misunderstood by everyone. This is an exceptionally common symptom, and it'll also be coupled with the next symptom. But feeling misunderstood by everyone is a very, very difficult and isolating ego degradation symptom. Maybe you've started becoming more spiritual and everyone thinks you're crazy. Maybe people no longer understand how to communicate with you and vice versa. Maybe you're getting exhausted by people and feel like you can't be around them. What you're going through seems extreme to others, and they try to pull you out. How? By playing on the ego. Trying to remind you of things that you once loved. Trying to ply you with alcohol. Trying to get you to go on dates or get out more. But old inside jokes are no longer funny to you. Other people's drama is no longer affecting you, and therefore you don't partake. You don't care about what TV shows or movies people are watching. You don't care about politics or what your partner's job stresses are. And because you are finally seeing through the egoic nonsense, no one understands what's happening to you, and they judge you for your changes. Number 12, the meeting of a soul tribe member, your soul family dropping off, or both. Because soul tribe members are the most difficult soul family members to meet, you can bet that when one comes into your life, you have reached a higher vibrational frequency. Especially if you meet the spiritualist during this time. And if you don't know what I'm talking about or referring to, please watch my video entitled, Who is Your Soul Tribe? On a different note, other members of your soul family may drop out of your life, especially soulmates. And again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about or referring to, please watch my video entitled, Who is My Soulmate? Soulmates will naturally drop out of your life when you are experiencing ego degradation. And this is because spiritual awakening is their entire purpose in your life. Along the same lines, if you are ascending faster than your twin flame, you will enter separation. And once you get through your symptoms, you will more than likely make the choice to end your karmic relationships because you just learned a ton of lessons throughout this process of waking up. Number 13, understanding the pointlessness to everything. This happens after severe ego degradation, generally caused by a mental breakdown or psychedelic drugs that opened you to a higher plane of energy. During both of these things, the ego is so shattered that you become literally one with the universe for a time. And although it's absolutely terrifying to have this type of awakening, What you're left with is a full understanding on the deepest level possible that there is absolutely no point to anything. This is different than hopelessness that one feels in depression, because hopelessness is a sense of, I'll never be happy again, or I'll never feel normal again. Pointlessness is exactly what it sounds like. And unless you've experienced it, it's quite difficult to explain, unfortunately. There is no point to your job, no point to your relationships, no point to your experiences or your conversations. There is no point to politics, no point to enjoyment, no point to traveling, no point to anything that you experience on this 3D plane. It can create a form of apathy, and it is your job then to turn it into equanimity and non-attachment while still functioning in the 3D plane alongside people who care way too much about everything. This is the ultimate ego death. Until next week, all of my best and highest vibrations to you.